welcome to the NonProfit World TV show. I'm your host, Donna Hagiga, and today we are very fortunate to have with us 4 guests. They are Levi, Colleen Campbell, Jessica Matson, and Hobbs the dog, who you can't see right now, but Hobbs, do you want to introduce yourself?
Good boy, up.
And my guests are all here today from Heroes, Horses, and Hounds. And to find out more about what Heroes, Horses, and Hounds does, I want to turn to you, Colleen, and ask you, what is the mission of Heroes, Horses, and Hounds?
So our mission is to rescue unwanted horses and dogs and retrain them for service. We also do help some high-risk populations, such as pregnant moms. I took in 2 pregnant mares, 2 full-sized horses that had babies. They were at a slaughter lot. And we also take dogs in that are pregnant in a high-kill shelter. But the majority of what we do is rescue horses and dogs and retrain them for service. And we work with all sorts of different types of service.
And how do people who have animals or find animals that need rescuing, how do they find out about Heroes, Horses, and Hounds to get to you so that you can get to the animals? Yeah,
there's a few different ways you can contact us. We do have a website, which is www.heroeshh.org.
Okay, so it's www.heroeshh.org. Perfect.
Yep. Or the Facebook page, which is Heroes, Horses, and Hounds. You can contact us through either. Our Facebook page is very active. We're updating that all the time, so you can follow the animals that we've got in training, and you can also
see great pictures, I bet,
Oh,
too.
there's tons of them.
Okay, wonderful. And Jessica, tell me a little bit about how you first got involved together and what you do with the dog training.
So I've been training dogs for about almost 20 years now, and I was marching in a parade with a service dog, and I heard this voice, hey, hey, hey. And I looked, and there was Colleen, and we set up a meeting. We sat down. She told me she had this amazing idea, and I immediately wanted to be on board.
And at this point, were you already doing horse rescue?
Nope.
Okay.
I was doing training and lessons, but I didn't have a facility or a way to rescue. I didn't have enough money to put forward to.
And how long ago was that?
It was probably about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, so you've come a long way already.
Yes.
You already have your 501c3 status, you have a website, you have a Facebook page. About how many animals, dogs, and horses have you sort of interacted with or basically intervened with to help in the last 2 years, would you say?
So I haven't actually totaled them up, so I have to kind of go through. Right now we have about 6 dogs in training for service, correct?
Yep.
We have a mother dog with 7 puppies that we brought in. We have 2 full-size horses with 2 baby foals that we rescued. And then we have 4 miniature horses.
Okay, wow.
That are 2 are in training for service, mobility service, and then 2 are our therapy horses, the adult ones that were rescued.
Now I can imagine that even just housing and feeding the animals could be quite expensive. Never mind doing the training and then the outreach to find veterans, I believe, and children are the groups that you are looking to interact with most for therapeutic reasons. How have you sustained the organization so far, and what are you looking to do in terms of fundraising?
So far it's been a lot of donations and myself putting some money in to make sure it keeps going. It does cost us probably around $2,000 a month to keep the animals housed and fed and without any special needs at all. That's just the basics. And we've had a few events which were very well attended and raised a good deal of money for us. So for the future, we have a dog-friendly beer festival that we have planned for September 16th.
Okay, wonderful.
And that's going to be in Hadley, Massachusetts.
Okay.
That's our next big fundraiser. And then otherwise, we just look for anybody who is willing to help us out and get these animals.
My son, Jake, and his class have sponsored Hobbs, and so I go in with Hobbs once a week to their class, and they've donated a bed for him and food for him and such like that. So we do small scale, straight up through large scale fundraising. grassroots right now.
So it sounds like that's a wonderful idea to do, like churches and Girl Scout, Boy Scout troops, schools obviously could adopt one of your service animals and help fund that animal and also help to amplify the work that you're doing as well. And I understand that, really what we see is what we get here in terms of the core organization. And I understand obviously that this is a passion of yours, but it's not yet your full-time jobs.
Yes.
So if there were people out there who could volunteer, what are some of the wonderful ways they could volunteer in addition to doing things like, donating things off of the wonderfully helpful wish list that you have on your website? So what kinds of skills would you be looking for in volunteers?
We would love to find some grant writers and some fundraising people that are really interested in helping to run events and run online fundraisers and any sort of different types of deals like that.
So even like an organizational management person or a project manager as well, not only for the events, but I imagine running the operation itself when you're out, training the animals and so forth takes a lot of work. Is there somebody, if somebody had organizational skills, likes to get things in order and be responsive to emails and sort of?
Absolutely, that would be critical for us at this point.
Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah, and we will most likely have some openings coming up on our board as well.
Okay.
So we would love to have a full-time board member as a secretary and fundraiser would be fantastic.
Wonderful.
And fosters.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the foster program, as well as I understand that there's a program where if somebody has either a child or a veteran or somebody who has some needs and can't afford to get a service dog, let's say, there's some self-training. Tell me a bit about the fostering and this self-training possibility.
So the fostering program for the dogs is we look for somebody who is able to have everyone in their household on board.
Okay.
They are supported with us through training. They would, we support them with the feed and the equipment, and then they do a lot of public access training. They would take the dog to work with them, to school with them, and get them out and about. And then training classes right now, we're partnered with, we send our people to NB Productions in Greenfield as much as possible in Massachusetts. And then
What's NB Productions?
it's a dog training facility.
Okay, wonderful.
And so we try to send them there because that's where our core training is modeled after. And so once they're there and they have been paired with a person, then we start to work with the person to get those tasks taken care of.
If you're looking for foster homes, are they in Massachusetts mostly or also Connecticut? Because I understand that you do have clients in Connecticut.
We do have clients in Connecticut. Hobbs actually is going to a child in Connecticut, and we would be happy to have foster homes in Connecticut as well as Massachusetts.
What's the time commitment like if you're interested in being a foster family, either for dogs or in a minute maybe we'll talk about horses as well?
So we ask that the dogs get a minimum of 20 hours a week training, and then you have your daily care, the feeding, the walking, and things like that. So you're looking at 25 to 30 hours. And when we say training, I really mean things like taking them grocery shopping with you. Socializing them. So they fit into your everyday schedule because that's what we're looking for long term, is for them to understand that when they're out and about, these are the behaviors we expect from them.
And how long of a span of time would it be? Like, are you taking a foster dog in for, let's say, 3 months of training in this intensity?
Right now we have 2 levels of fostering for dogs. We have one that is 12 weeks. And that gets our basics, our sits, our downs, our stands, our stays, and things like that done as well as public access. And then we put them with somebody else for the task training. And then we have a 6 to 8 month commitment where they do the entire program through us, basic to service dog training.
Must be hard to say goodbye at the end of that time. But
I get asked that a lot, and honestly, it is, but it is so rewarding.
To see the animal do what
you have honestly saved 2 lives, because you've saved a rescue dog's life, and then you've saved the person that this rescue dog is going to. They'll have an autonomy with this dog that they would not have due to their disability.
Wow. So tell me a little bit about the horse fostering. How does that work?
Yeah. So right now we don't really have any fostering available for the minis because it is, it's a little bit more intensive. It's definitely a year of commitment. So if anybody was interested in that, it would have to be somebody who is willing to come up and do lessons with me and learn how to train them. And once we have it more figured out what people need for mobility and the individuals, then we can start offering more of the foster for the horses.
And it sounded, we were speaking a little bit before we came on air, and sounds like the goal is to have Levi and his sister's name is what?
Serena.
Serena, to start going and interacting with children and perhaps veterans. And it looks like your first thought is to partner with some hospitals, is that correct?
Yes. Yep. Both he and his sister are being trained for mobility service, as I'd mentioned, and we want to work them into a PT and OT program with
Being physical therapy and occupational therapy,
yes,
correct?
Yep, sorry. And there's a Shriners Hospital that's in plans that we'd like to go talk to and see if these guys would work into their children program. And then also if there's any private physical therapy practitioners who would like to involve horses into their practice, then we'd be interested in talking to them too.
Okay, so then it sounds like that's another sort of volunteer that we might be looking for if there were individuals with connections to any of these healthcare facilities that you just mentioned, as well as any other kinds of programs, populations where you would be able to interact with the children or the veterans directly. Is that correct?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Great.
Because they're very useful in lots of different types of healing. There's the emotional healing. Obviously, they're adorable, and every time they come into a room, people smile and they laugh and they want to play with them. And when you see this little horse pull up in a Corolla and his head's sticking out of the window, you can't help but laugh.
Yes.
So it brings that type. It's also been proven that chemo patients that are being visited by miniature horses while on chemo have 50% less medication than people that don't. And then also for stroke victims and other disorders where people are having hard times using their muscles and doing daily, simple tasks like closing a fist or opening a hand, having them come out and pet the horse or braid its hair or do something which is focusing not on the machinery that they have to work with to heal, but just going, oh, I'm going to pet a horse.
Yes, so actually doing it without thinking about it being work so much.
Exactly.
As exercise that you have to sort of do because you've been mandated to do that. I read on your website as well that you are looking for interactions as well with libraries. Are there some reading programs? How does that work? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so there's some therapy programs that have been going on for a little while where people will bring dogs in, especially, to go read with children.
Yes.
And it's the same idea, again, as, the children are not thinking about reading in front of their class and feeling awkward and nervous about whether they're going to miss a word or get laughed at or feel uncomfortable. They're just going in and they're reading to a dog. And these horses are also being trained to lay down on command so that they can read with the kids as well.
Wonderful.
So what we would love to do is eventually get Jess's therapy dog and service dog, Crow, as well as one of the mini horses, and go into libraries or Barnes & Noble and do some reading programs with kids.
I used to work at Hartford Public Library, and there was a small dog that used to come visit, and it was amazing how children who had actually traumatic experiences before. One child had a situation where the teacher, he had felt that the teacher was criticizing his performance in reading aloud, and after that he just refused to read out loud. But then when Gizmo the dog came in, he just was not even conscious of the fact that he was reading aloud again, because he just thought he was reading to this non-judgmental, loving creature. Yeah. So I've seen the effects of that firsthand. It's wonderful.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that animals do. They make you just focus on your happiness and being, or being around something cute and fuzzy. You just forget about all of the judgments and the criticisms, and the walls come down and the defenses come down, and then you can just relax and enjoy whatever you're learning, whatever you're doing, or even just being with them.
Yes.
It's just, petting a dog or an animal of any sort just lowers the blood pressure and
Very
just
calming.
It's very calming, it's very grounding, and dogs, when they're doing things like what Hobbs is doing now and laying in the lap or leaning against somebody, it's very grounding, and it's great for anxiety. And a lot of the people that we work with, whether they have autism or PTSD, have anxiety in many different situations. So having an animal help them settle is very beneficial.
Jess, tell us a little bit about how you learned how to do some of this training and the therapy. It sounds like you had a very interesting personal story that brought you to this.
When my son was young, he was diagnosed with Asperger's, a form of high-functioning autism, and he would run out of our apartment at the time about every night. And so I was worried for our safety, for his safety. He was young. So I looked into a service dog, and I was told that there was a 7-year waiting list. And then, mind you, this was almost 20 years ago, $25,000 that I would have to raise before I was allowed to have a dog for him. So I was not that patient nor that rich, and decided to embark on the journey myself. And we got his puppy. And began training her. Her name is Rizzo, and she's still working with him.
Wow.
Yes.
So how many years have they been together now?
12 and a half.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. And so I did some internships, and I followed people, and I looked to different trainers, and I really liked the way that Pam Murphy trained in Greenfield, and so then I started working directly with her and developed a service dog program. And now here we are.
Yes.
And then I met Colleen, and so I really enjoy working with the younger population. I do have 4 children myself, and the veterans. Both populations speak dearly to me. So when Colleen said those were her focus populations, it was like a puzzle piece just clicked for us.
Right. And it's, I know when I first met you, you were telling me that story and telling me also that really the goal of Heroes, Horses and Hounds is to bring these resources to people who, just like you, didn't have those resources, and maybe not like you, aren't as resourceful so that they could figure out how to do it themselves. So you're really helping them by, taking away the barrier of that cost, and also in some situations, the training program that we were talking about. Can you tell us a little bit more about that training program that you're developing so that somebody could come with their own dog and...
Absolutely. So what we're hoping is we need to get a facility first. Hi, Hobbs. And so once we have our facility, we'll be able to have a more concrete training base where people would be able to come on a weekly or twice a week basis and work with their dogs specifically on training tasks directly for their disability.
Okay.
So that's where we differ from a lot of other places, is that they...
it's more customized.
It is absolutely, it's 100% customized. So even Hobbs, who is going to a child, my son's classroom, he's exposed to children.
Right.
The children are working with him to get him to do the tasks that he needs. So these kinds of things make us unique, along with the fact that it costs us several $1,000s to between equipment and training time and feed, but we help raise the money. So we do our best to help raise the money for the costs and such, and so it's less prohibitive to people. Most of the people who need a service dog are on a fixed income.
Yes. Yeah.
Disability, SSI, things like that, and don't have...
So they're least best positioned to,
exactly.
to afford, yes.
Exactly, and so that's why we look for outside funding to help with this. That's why we're looking for, grants and things like that in order for us to be able to better serve this
Sure.
population, which gets turned away by most organizations due to their financial situation.
Right, right. And you mentioned the facility.
Yes.
The goal is to get a facility, I think, somewhere in Western Mass as well, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about, I understand that you have a particular facility in mind, and what that's going to take in terms of just ballpark costs so that viewers who may be interested in helping to support this mission understand what needs to be done in order to make this a sustainable organization.
Yeah, the facility that we have picked out is it's a beautiful farm potential. There's a little 4-stall barn there now, and there's about 6 acres that are already open. There's streams, there's woods, there's 21 acres altogether. Has a house on the property as well. So it gives us the potential to start with what we have and be able to grow.
Yes.
It gives us a lot of different options of training, having people come in and have all of this different, there's open fields, we'll have a riding ring, there's also the woods where you can go hiking, there's the facility itself is right near Amherst. It's about 15 minutes from downtown Amherst, so it's a quick hop in the car and then out and working into a big crowded area. It's also about 15 minutes to South Hadley and more of a city type situation.
Sure.
So it gives us a lot of training options. Yep. And right now, in order to get this facility, we have to raise the down payment, which is always the stumbling block, and we have to raise at least $50,000 in order to get in and get started and get this going.
That's reminding me that I was reading about your background a little bit, and it sounds like you are a graduate of UMass Amherst, is that correct?
Yep.
And that brings me to an idea as well. Just like Hobbs has been adopted by your child's class, I wonder if there aren't groups, student groups at UMass and some of the other wonderful colleges that are abundant in Western Mass to help with some of that fundraising, because I think we see a lot of young people today who are very interested in helping people, but also animals as well. So that might be also a wonderful area of collaboration where student groups could help
That's a great
raise
idea.
money
Yeah.
with their different campus events and so forth. So.
Yeah, and that would be great. We would love to talk to anybody who would be interested in setting up student groups that want to do
And
that
is
kind
the
of
best
outreach.
way to reach you for something like that still Facebook or just the website, your email that's on the website? What's the best way for student groups or other volunteers to get in touch?
Yeah, if they want to get in touch with either Jess or I, and it's not a specific question, or even if it is, but Jess and I both have access to those two modes of communication.
Wonderful.
If they do want to contact me directly, there's also my phone number, which is 978-660-0267.
Okay.
They can call that anytime, and I'd be happy to talk to them. And then if they want Jess, if Jess wants to give her number, she can.
Absolutely. It's 413-687-1796.
Okay, so we have both phone numbers available for anyone who wants to volunteer. Definitely we're looking for volunteers with grant writing skills, organizational skills, certainly groups, particularly student groups at the universities in Western Mass who are interested in promoting, helping with the fundraising goal by doing some fundraisers for this organization. That'd be terrific, but also schools and youth organizations and faith-based organizations that also think that this is a wonderful service to bring to the community, to a win-win really, because you're rescuing these animals and you're rescuing, in many senses of the words, the people who are being helped, whether they're veterans and children. And, we keep talking about veterans and children, but there are probably other individuals.
We are
as well.
open to anyone who needs us.
Yep.
We find that veterans and children are the most underserved population. And that's why we focus on them.
Right.
But we do not feel the need to exclude anyone.
Right, and that's wonderful to know as well. Great. So I do have to ask one last question about Levi. I love, and I don't know if the camera's going to be able to get to Levi's footwear, but he has two kinds. And I understand that you were trying to show the two at least 2 different kinds of
Yeah.
footwear that's available.
He's not moving.
And I'm laughing because the front pair are Build-A-Bear
Yes.
shoes, is
Yep.
that correct? So those would be shoes that if you went and built a teddy bear, you would get these shoes for the teddy bear.
Yeah. And they're just little sneakers. I was hoping he'd step up, but he feels that he is stuck at the moment. So I don't know if he's going to be moving up.
Yes.
It's your foot. There we go. So maybe it's high enough.
They're totally
but yeah, they have
adorable.
little sneakers,
Yeah.
and you just tie them on their little feet. And that's really well fitted for any of the smaller minis that have little hooves. And if you have a larger mini, we've got the hiking boots in the back, which are specifically made by an equine company or horse company that.
And these are needed because they don't do horseshoes on miniatures. Is that correct?
Yeah, not as a general rule.
Right,
Like you could
okay.
probably have some made,
Yeah.
but it would take a lot. And these are a much more cost-effective option.
Well, they're also very cute.
Yes.
Yeah, and they're adorable because a pony with sneakers is adorable.
Yes, yes. And so Levi and Hobbs both live in Western Mass. So if any of you are out on the roads in Western Mass and see, what color's your Corolla?
It's red.
Red.
Yep.
If you see a red Corolla and you see what looks like a small horse in the riding shotgun, is that right? Or in the
He
back
rides in the
seat?
back, yep.
He's riding the back seat. You're not seeing things. That's probably Levi or his sister.
Yeah.
And so let's tell everyone again the website, please,
Yep.
so that people can get more information.
So it's heroeshh.org. Sorry, www. Heroes with an ES. So it's HEROESHH.org.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And sounds like a wonderful organization that more people should learn about and support. And we welcome that. So please do check that out. Also check out their Facebook page, which is Heroes Horses and Hounds.
Yeah.
Is just the Facebook
Yep.
page name as well. And I bet there's lots of cute pictures of Levi and Hobbs and all the other animals as well. So I know I'm going to go check that out myself. So Colleen and Jessica, thank you so much for coming in. We definitely are going to be checking out your website, and we hope to have you back and hear about some of your progress. Hopefully you'll be able to get that idyllic sounding location near Amherst. It sounds wonderful, and we'd love to hear about how more community groups are getting involved in supporting this wonderful cause.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. This has been another episode of the Nonprofit World TV show. I'm your host, Donna Hagigat. This is a production of Sara DeGraff's, and we are filmed at Nutmeg TV in Farmington, Connecticut. Thank you very much.